I won the lottery right after losing my job, but told no one. My parents laughed, called me broke and homeless, and my brother offered me an $8 janitor job. So, I let them find out only after I had my brother arrested for stealing from me. Growing up, my family made it clear who mattered and who didn't. I kept my head down, built my own life anyway, and thought I was done with them. Turns out they weren't done with me. Before all that blew up, here's how it actually started. My name is Dante. I'm 39 now. Work in tech, run my own company, and keep my circle small on purpose. This story starts way earlier though. Back when I was just a kid, trying to figure out why my own house always felt like I was trespassing in it. Our family setup was simple on paper. Dad, Howard, Mom, Gwen, my older brother Marvin, 4 years ahead of me, then me, then 6 years later, my younger sister Athena. From the outside, it probably looked normal enough. Inside the house, there was a clear order, and I was never confused about where I stood. Howard made it obvious early that I wasn't part of whatever future he imagined for himself. He didn't hide it or soften it. He talked about me like I was an accounting error. Too much money spent, too much time wasted, too much effort for too little return. Those were his favorite themes. If I struggled with something, it was because I wasn't built right. If I succeeded at something, it was luck or timing or someone else helping me. He loved words like soft and slow. Not yelled, not screamed, just said casually, like observations. You're soft, you're slow. You don't have the edge Marvin has. It was never said once. It was said every week, every month, every year, long enough that it stopped sounding like an insult and started sounding like a fact. Gwen never stopped him. That was the part that stuck with me more than anything. She didn't agree out loud, but she didn't disagree either. Whenever things got uncomfortable, she had her go-to lines ready. That's just how your father is. He wants the best for you. You know how men show love. Then she'd change the subject or ask me to grab something or remind me to clean up. Marvin, on the other hand, could do no wrong. He didn't need to try hard. He didn't need to explain himself. If he messed up, it was brushed off as learning. If I messed up, it was proof of character. Marvin got patience. I got deadlines. Marvin got encouragement. I got warnings. If Marvin forgot to do something, Howard laughed it off. If I forgot, it turned into a lecture about responsibility and effort. When Athena was born, the dynamic didn't improve. It just shifted. She was loved in a way I never was, but not resented like I might have expected. She was protected, sheltered, treated gently. I wasn't jealous of her. I just noticed that once she arrived, I was no longer even pretending to be a kid in the house. I became useful. I didn't get asked to help. I was expected to. Dishes, yard work, fixing things I was never shown how to fix. Watching Athena while adults talked, cleaning up messes I didn't make. If something broke, Howard assumed it was my fault. If something went missing, the first question was what I did with it. If Marvin and I argued, I was told to be the bigger person. Even when I was smaller, younger, and clearly not the one causing it. There was never a thank you. There wasn't even acknowledgement. Helping was just my role. Like furniture, you don't thank a chair for holding weight. Over time, I learned the rules. Talking back made things worse. Explaining didn't matter. Effort didn't change outcomes. Silence kept the peace. Work filled the space. If I stayed quiet and did what needed to be done, the day ended faster. Howard liked to talk about shaping men. He said pressure made strength. What he really meant was that some people deserve patience and some didn't. Marvin got patience. Athena got protection. I got pressure. The strange part is that none of this was dramatic. There were no big blow-ups or movie-style moments. It was daily, boring, predictable. That's what made it stick. You don't fight a system that runs quietly. You just adapt to it. By the time I finished high school, I already knew how things worked in my family. Results mattered, but only if the right person got them. I didn't expect support, but I still wanted stability. That's why I picked it. It wasn't a dream or a passion. It felt practical. Computers didn't care who your parents liked more. Either things worked or they didn't. I went to a regular state school. Nothing fancy, nothing impressive enough to brag about at family dinners. I worked part-time the whole way through nights, weekends, whatever fit around classes. I paid my own rent, covered my own books, and learned early how to stretch money. There was no backup plan waiting for me if something went wrong. Graduating felt less like a celebration and more like crossing a checkpoint. Marvin took a different route. He didn't bother with college. Howard called it a smart move. Said school was a waste of time for people who had real instincts. Marvin wanted to get into real estate. And Howard made sure he could. He helped with the first down payment. He vouched for him with contacts. When deals went sideways, money quietly appeared to smooth things over. None of it was ever mentioned directly, but it was obvious if you were paying attention. Within a few years, Marvin had stories. Properties, flips, tenants, learning experiences. That became the family's main topic. Every gathering turned into a progress report on Marvin's latest move. How much something sold for, how fast it closed, how smart he was for getting in early. Howard soaked it up. Gwen nodded along and asked questions like she was part of the business. When I got my first IT job after graduating at 22, it barely registered. It paid enough to cover rent and groceries, and that was about it. Howard called it a starting point, said it was good I was finally doing something, but made it clear it wasn't where I should stay. Years later, it was still treated the same way. Temporary. Something I was passing through. Proof that I hadn't figured things out yet. The comparisons never stopped. Marvin was driven. Marvin took risks. Marvin understood money. I was comfortable. I was cautious. I was too willing to settle. Howard liked to say Marvin had fire and I had excuses. Gwen backed him up by pointing out how I wasn't pushing for more. More money, more status, more visibility. The funny part was that I was working more hours than Marvin ever did. Long days, on-call rotations, weekends fixing things no one noticed unless they broke. None of that counted. It didn't look impressive enough. Athena noticed all of it. She was younger, but not oblivious. She never joined in on the comparisons. She'd ask how work was going and actually listen. When she got older, she stopped pretending Marvin's success was impressive just because everyone else said it was. She married Simon when she was 22. He wasn't flashy. Steady job, quiet confidence, didn't talk much at family gatherings. The first time we had a real conversation, he asked me what I worked on and didn't make a joke when I explained it. He didn't frame it as a stepping stone or ask what my next move was. He just treated it like a job. That was new for me. Marvin didn't like that. By then, his success had turned him sharp. His jokes stopped being jokes. He'd laugh while pointing out how I was still renting, how I didn't own anything real, how Athena had passed me in life milestones. He said it casually like he was helping me see reality. Howard encouraged it, said Marvin was just trying to motivate me. Gwen smiled uncomfortably and said I shouldn't take things personally. As Marvin made more money, he got louder, more confident, more dismissive. Every story he told had a lesson buried in it, usually about how people who didn't take risks ended up stuck. Those people usually looked a lot like me. I learned that in my family, effort only mattered if it turned into something visible. Hours didn't count. Consistency didn't count. Stability didn't count. If you didn't have something people could point at, you might as well not exist. I kept working anyway. I didn't know what else to do. But somewhere along the way, it clicked that I wasn't being judged on how hard I tried. I was being judged on how impressive I looked, and by that standard, I was never going to win playing fair. The job I had through most of my late 20s wasn't exciting, but it paid the bills. Mid-level IT work, decent team, nothing flashy. Then the company started slipping. Leadership changes, cost-cutting, projects getting paused. None of it involved me directly, which almost made it worse. One morning, we were called into a meeting and told the company was shutting down. No long explanation, no one to blame, just bad decisions stacked on top of each other. The severance was small, a few weeks at most. Rent didn't care about that, neither did utilities. I burned through my savings faster than I expected. Job hunting dragged on. Every posting wanted the same thing, and every response took longer than it should have. I told myself I just needed a little time. Then my car broke down. It wasn't a small issue, either. Engine trouble. The kind that doesn't wait until you're ready. Suddenly, I couldn't get to interviews without borrowing rides. Repairs weren't cheap and I didn't have room to float them. Everything hit at once and there was no cushion. I waited longer than I should have before calling my parents. Pride mostly, but also habit. When I did call Howard and Gwen, I kept it simple. Hey, I lost my job. The company shut down, I said. I'm looking for work, but things are tight. I was wondering if I could stay in the basement for a bit, just temporarily. There was a pause, then he laughed. So, this is where you ended up, he said. I warned you about playing it safe. I'm not asking forever, I said. Just a few weeks. Howard didn't lower his voice. You're 31 years old, Dante. If you were really a man, you wouldn't be calling me asking for a place to crash. Gwen came on the line after that. Her voice softened, but not her answer. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, she said. It sounds really stressful. That's it? I asked. Well, your father's right, she said. You need to figure this out on your own. We can't keep rescuing you. They hung up like the conversation had reached its natural end. I sat there for a while before calling Marvin. I already knew what he'd say, but some part of me still hoped he'd surprise me. He didn't. So, you're unemployed now? He said, dragging the word out. That tracks. I just need a small loan, I said. Enough to fix the car and buy some time. He laughed. You know what your problem is? You never took risks. There was a pause. Then his tone shifted like he was about to do me a favor. I tell you what, he said. I've got a janitor position open at one of my places. $8 an hour. I'll even put in a good word. "I'm not cleaning your buildings for $8, I said. "You should be grateful I'm offering anything," he replied. "This could be good for you. Build some humility." I hung up before he could keep going. There wasn't much left after that. My savings were nearly gone. The car still didn't run. Rent was due again soon. The last call I made was the one I should have made first. When Athena answered, I didn't try to sound strong. "I lost my job," I said. "The car's broken. I don't have anywhere to go." She didn't hesitate. "Come here," she said. "We'll figure it out." Simon got on the phone too. "Bring the car. I'll take a look." That was it. No questions about how long. No lectures about responsibility. They cleared out the spare room the same day. Simon spent the weekend under the hood of my car, figuring out what could be fixed now and what could wait. Athena made sure I ate and had space to breathe without hovering. Nobody treated me like a burden or a lesson. Living there wasn't glamorous, but it was calm. I applied for jobs during the day, fixed what I could, paid them back as soon as I started earning again. They never asked for timelines or updates. That stretch made something very clear. What I'd grown up with wasn't discipline or motivation. It was conditional acceptance. The moment I stopped being useful or impressive, I stopped mattering. Athena and Simon didn't care about any of that. They helped because I needed help. That was the difference. From that point on, I stopped pretending my family didn't have sides. They did, and I finally knew which side I was on. Living with Athena and Simon gave me something I hadn't had in a long time. Room to breathe without being watched. Once the car was running again, my days fell into a simple pattern. Wake up early, apply for jobs, tinker with small freelance work when I could get it, keep my costs low, say thank you, stay out of the way. A few months in, I landed another IT job. Nothing impressive. Internal systems again, decent schedule, pay that covered bills, and left a little extra if I was careful. I took it without hesitation. Stability mattered more than title. I didn't tell anyone it was temporary or part of some bigger plan. I just worked. I kept living simply. Same clothes, same routine. I saved everything I could. Athena never asked questions and Simon never made comments. They treated it like a normal phase, not something to analyze. That made it easier to focus. One afternoon on the way home from work, I stopped at a convenience store. Nothing special. I grabbed what I needed and added a scratch ticket at the counter without thinking much about it. I'd bought them before and never won more than pocket change. It was habit, not hope. I scratched it in my car before starting the engine. I checked the numbers twice, then again. Then I sat there for a while, not reacting the way people expect. No shaking, no cheering, just silence. It was $20 million. The first thing I did was put the ticket back in the envelope and drive home. I didn't tell Athena. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even look it up online. I didn't need confirmation. I needed containment. The next step was obvious. Lawyer first. The next few days were about protection, not excitement. I found a lawyer, someone who handled windfalls and didn't ask personal questions. He confirmed 3 things fast. The jackpot was quoted before taxes. My state allowed me to claim through a trust. And if I wanted privacy, I had to treat it like a security problem, not a shopping spree. After that, I brought in a financial advisor, not through friends, not through anyone who could circle back to family. Paperwork got built the way I build systems. Layered, boring, and hard to break. Structures mattered. I asked questions until I understood every answer. The goal wasn't to get rich fast. It was to disappear financially. I didn't buy anything. I didn't change my routine. I went to work like normal, ate the same food, drove the same car. The money stayed out of sight while I built walls around it. Once that was done, I started working on something I'd been thinking about for years. A company that solved problems I'd spent my career fixing for other people. Nothing flashy, no big claims, just something solid, built slowly with room to grow. I registered it quietly. Rented a small space that didn't stand out. Hired contractors instead of employees at first, paid on time, kept everything lean. No branding that caught attention. No posts, no announcements. If someone found it, it was because they were looking for the service, not because I advertised. After a few months, things stabilized. The company didn't explode with success. It didn't need to. It covered its costs, then more. I kept my job while it grew. Nights and weekends went into building systems and fixing mistakes before they became expensive. Once I had enough distance, I moved out of Athena and Simon's place. Quietly, I found a normal apartment and handled it without making a production out of it. Athena assumed I'd saved up and finally felt comfortable leaving. That was close enough to the truth to let it stand. I thanked them again, paid back the money for the car, covered my share of expenses without being asked, kept things normal from the outside. Nothing had changed. I was still the same guy with the same job, just a little steadier than before. That was intentional. Power works better when no one knows it's there. I didn't feel tempted to prove anything. I didn't feel like announcing a turnaround. I'd spent too long being judged by appearances to want that again. This time, I wanted control, time, options. The money didn't make me reckless. It made me careful. Every decision after that went through the same filter. Does this draw attention? Does this create dependency? Does this give someone leverage? If the answer was yes, I didn't do it. Athena never pushed for details. Simon never asked. That was part of why I trusted them. They helped without needing a story attached. What I was building didn't look impressive yet, and that was fine. I wasn't racing anyone anymore. I was laying groundwork. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't doing it under someone else's rules. Power didn't show up all at once. It arrived quietly, piece by piece, and stayed exactly where I put it. By the time Christmas rolled around, I'd been back on my feet long enough that people assumed the rough patch was over. I hadn't corrected anyone. I showed up when invited, kept things polite, didn't bring up money or plans. That's how I walked into my parents' house that night. Same living room, same seating order, same tone in the air before anyone even spoke. Marvin was already there, loud as usual, talking about a deal that almost doubled before taxes. Howard sat at the head of the table, nodding along like it was a performance just for him. Gwen moved plates around and smiled too much. The first comment came before we even sat down. "So," Marvin said, looking straight at me, "you done mooching off Athena now? Or are you still renting some shoebox and calling it a comeback?" I kept my voice even. "I've got a place." Howard leaned back. "A place?" he repeated. "Meaning what exactly? Renting again?" Gwen jumped in. "Your brother just worries about you. You know how he is." Marvin laughed. "I'm just saying most guys our age are building something. Owning. Not bouncing around." I hadn't said a word about money. I hadn't defended myself. That seemed to annoy them more. Howard cut in. "This is what we've been talking about for years, Dante. You never plan long term. Always reacting. Always behind." Athena shifted in her chair. "He had a rough year. That happens." Howard turned on her. "That's exactly the problem. You coddle him. You and Simon keep rescuing him instead of letting him learn." I looked at Athena. She was already tense. Marvin shook his head. "It's not your fault. Some people just need help their whole lives." I set my fork down. Gwen tried to smooth it over. "Let's not make this uncomfortable. It's Christmas." Marvin ignored her. "I mean, look at the pattern. Job loss, car issues, staying with his sister. How long do you think that would last without you?" Athena spoke up. "Family helps family." Howard snapped back immediately. "No, family prepares their kids to stand on their own. What you're doing is teaching him it's okay to fail." Marvin smiled. "He'll always need saving. Some guys just don't figure it out." The table got loud fast after that. Everyone talking over each other. Howard listing all the ways I disappointed him. Marvin tossing in jokes that landed like insults. Gwen backing them by saying they were only worried about my future. Athena tried again. "He didn't ask for any of this. His company shut down." Howard waved his hand. "Excuses. There's always an excuse." Marvin leaned forward. "You know what the difference is between us?" He said to me, "I take risks. You wait for things to happen to you." I finally spoke. "I didn't ask for advice." Howard pointed his fork at me. "That's your problem. You never listen." Athena stood up. "This is unfair." Howard shot back. "Sit down. This doesn't concern you." Marvin laughed. "It does. When he's living under her roof." That was it. Not because it hurt, but because it was clear. There was no version of this where things changed. No future dinner where they suddenly respected me. No milestone that would rewrite the story they'd decided on. I stood up calmly and pushed my chair in. Gwen looked startled. "Where are you going?" "I'm leaving," I said. Howard scoffed. "Running away again." I didn't respond. I grabbed my jacket. Marvin added, "Don't worry, as we Uncle L always help him when he messes up." Athena said my name, but I was already heading for the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't say anything dramatic. I just walked out. Later that night, Athena called to apologize for them. I told her she didn't need to. I thanked her and Simon again for everything they'd done when I was down. I meant it. That dinner wasn't painful. It was clarifying. It was the moment I understood that nothing I achieved would ever be enough for them unless it made Marvin feel smaller. And that was never going to happen. That was the last time I tried to belong in that house. The company didn't grow fast. It grew correctly. The first couple of years were mostly unremarkable. Long stretches of boring work, fixing systems nobody wanted to touch. Contracts that sounded good on paper but turned into headaches. I made mistakes. Trusted the wrong people. Learned which problems were expensive and which ones just wasted time. None of it was dramatic. Just work. I kept my IT job longer than I needed to because it kept my life quiet. Nights and weekends went into the company. I hired slowly, paid on time, let results speak for themselves. Over time, clients stayed. Referrals came in without asking. Cash flow stopped being a daily concern. Athena and Simon still thought I was doing okay. They knew I had a company. They assumed it paid the bills. They never pushed for details, and I never volunteered them. That was part of why I trusted them. Once everything felt stable, actually stable, I knew what I wanted to do next. I bought them a penthouse, but not the kind of purchase that put my name in someone else's mouth. I waited until my company's income made it believable. Then had my attorney structure it so it didn't turn into a headline or a leash. Location, schools, commute, something that made their life easier, not louder. When everything was finalized, I asked them to meet me for dinner like it was any other night. After we finished eating, I told them I wanted to show them something. Athena frowned. "Show us what you'll see," I said. I drove. They followed. Neither of them said much once they realized where we were heading. When we parked, Athena looked up at the building and then back at me. "Why are we here?" I didn't answer. I walked to the door, unlocked it, and stepped aside. She froze. "Dante," she said slowly. "What is this?" I handed her the keys. She didn't take them at first. "Stop. What are you doing?" "It's yours," I said. "Both of yours." She stared at the keys like they didn't make sense. No, this isn't funny. It's not a joke." Simon looked around the space, quiet as usual. "Dante, how I told them everything. The scratch ticket, the company, why I kept it quiet, why I waited. I explained that I didn't want anyone feeling like they had leverage over me, that I didn't want help to turn into expectations." Athena sat down hard on the couch. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "We would have helped you anyway." "I know," I said. "That's why I did." She shook her head. "You could have told me. I didn't want to change how you treated me." She wiped her face. "You think money would have changed that?" "I didn't want to find out." Simon finally spoke. "You paid us back without being asked." I nodded. That mattered to me. Athena stood up and hugged me tight, wordless. Then she pulled back and looked at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. "You did all this quietly," she said. "You didn't say a word." I didn't need to. After that, things shifted. Not between us. Around us. I bought a larger place for myself not long after. More space, more distance somewhere that felt permanent. One evening after work, I noticed Marvin's car ahead of me near the neighborhood. Same aggressive driving, same impatience. At a light, he recognized me and rolled his window down. "Didn't expect to see you out here," he said. "This area is expensive. I work nearby." He pointed toward the houses. "Places like this, that's where real money ends up. One of these will be mine soon enough." The light changed. I drove on. He followed, still talking, until I turned into my driveway. He stopped behind me. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked. "Home?" He laughed. "Wrong turn." I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Marvin stood there staring. "That's not funny," he said. "You don't live here." "I do." His face shifted, confusion turning into irritation. "That's impossible." I didn't argue. I closed the door. After that, word spread. Not because I announced anything, but because real estate has a paper trail. The house wasn't in my name. It closed under an LLC my attorney set up. I didn't think twice about the LLC name. It was clean, boring, functional, the kind of thing nobody notices unless they're looking for it. Marvin noticed real estate was the one language he actually spoke fluently. A few searches, a few clicks, and he had the filing pulled up like it was a hobby. And once he had it, he couldn't keep it to himself. Questions reached my parents before I'd even decided whether the curtains in the living room were staying. Marvin started calling more often. Suddenly, my absence wasn't failure anymore. It was something they felt entitled to understand. Calls started coming in. Messages, questions. The story spread through people who suddenly remembered I existed. My parents didn't call first. They showed up. No warning, no text, just a knock at the door. One evening, I opened it and Howard immediately stepped forward like the conversation was happening inside. I put my hand on the edge of the door and held my ground. He looked past me into the house anyway. Gwen hovered behind him, already crying. "So, this is where you've been hiding," Howard said, looking around. "You could have told us." "I didn't need to," I replied. Gwen clasped her hands together. "We just didn't understand. You disappeared. We were worried." Howard cut in. "Family helps family. You should have come to us." I looked at him. "I did." He frowned. "That was different." "No, I said it wasn't." Gwen tried again. "You know, we would have helped if we knew." I didn't raise my voice. "I lost my job. I asked to stay in your basement. You left." Howard waved it off. "That was a lesson." I nodded. "Then Marvin offered me an $8 janitor job. That was tough love." Howard said, "You needed motivation. And Athena took me in. I said she helped me fix my car. She didn't lecture me. She didn't mock me." Gwen's face tightened. "You're holding grudges." "I'm remembering patterns." Howard's tone sharpened. "So what now? You're just cutting us out." "I already did," I said. Silence sat heavy in the room. "You owe us honesty," Gwen said quietly. "I don't owe you access," I replied. Howard scoffed. We're your parents, and this is my house, I said. You don't get to demand anything here. They left angry, not reflective, angry that the balance had shifted and they hadn't been informed. After that, the calls kept coming. I didn't answer. Numbers got blocked. Voicemails piled up anyway. New numbers, withheld numbers, messages that all sounded the same. Marvin oscillated between denial and entitlement. Howard wanted explanations. Gwen wanted reassurance. I didn't let them. And for the first time, I didn't explain myself. Marvin's real estate business didn't collapse in one loud moment. It decayed. Bad deals piled up quietly. Loans were refinanced one too many times. Properties stopped moving. Then came the lawsuits. Former partners claimed money was missing. Tenants complained about deposits that never came back. Vendors started asking questions. Eventually, the theft accusations stopped being rumors and turned into formal complaints. I didn't speak to my parents again after that. Not for a long time. Then Athena called me one night and said Marvin was in real trouble. Real trouble. Not ego trouble. I told her I wasn't reopening the door. She didn't argue. She just said, "You don't have to forgive them. Just hear what's happening." I agreed to one call, one on my terms. That's when Howard and Gwen reached out. They didn't acknowledge the past. They didn't apologize. They acted like the last few years were a misunderstanding. Everyone should just step over. Your brother's in trouble, Howard said over the phone. This is when family helps family. Gwen followed quickly. He just needs guidance. Someone stable, someone he can learn from. I listened without interrupting. When they finished, I said I'd help. There was a long pause. You would? Gwen asked. After everything? Yes, I said. But there will be conditions. They agreed immediately. Too quickly. Marvin agreed too when they told him. He sounded grateful, almost rehearsed. When Marvin showed up at the office the first day, he played the role well. Quiet, polite, thankful. He shook hands, asked questions, took notes. He said things like, "I know I messed up, and I just want a chance to work." It didn't fool me, but it didn't need to. I wasn't there to judge his words. I gave him a role with limits. No control over payroll, no authority to approve expenses, no access to core accounts, everything documented, everything tracked. He signed the agreement without pushing back. Before he ever logged into a system, the groundwork was already laid. Accounts segmented, permissions layered, every action tied to an identity. Cameras installed in common areas under the excuse of security upgrades. A small group of senior staff was looped in quietly, not to spy, but to keep everything normal while I watched. For the first few weeks, Marvin behaved. Then the cracks showed. It started small. Transfers that didn't align with any active project. Expense reports that didn't match receipts. When questioned, he blamed accounting delays or misunderstandings. Then staff started coming to me quietly. "He keeps saying the company's basically his too. He told me you were holding him back. He said this place should have been family-owned from the start." I didn't confront him. I tightened the system. Second approvals went on every outgoing payment. Bank alerts went on every account. Anything unusual triggered a hold until it was reviewed. If he was confused, the process would protect him. If he wasn't, the process would expose him. Then I had my attorney bring in an outside accountant. Not to play gotcha, just to make sure I wasn't about to accuse someone over a clerical error. The review didn't take long. The same patterns kept showing up and the explanations kept changing. One afternoon, Marvin came into my office without knocking. "You don't trust me," he said. "I trust controls," I replied. He laughed. "You always did hide behind rules." After that, he stopped pretending. He got louder, sloppier, more entitled. When we had enough preserved to make it undeniable, my attorney filed the report and handed over the documentation the way the investigator asked for it. Clean, time-stamped, and complete. I didn't press charges. I told them I'd cooperate fully, and I wasn't signing anything to make it disappear. A couple of weeks later, they came in on a Tuesday morning with a warrant. Marvin was mid-sentence when they walked through the door. Marvin called them the second he realized it wasn't a lecture. "There's been a mistake," he said. "Dante, tell them." I stayed seated. He raised his voice. "You set me up." Howard and Gwen arrived not long after, frantic and angry. Gwen was crying before she even stepped inside. "What did you do?" she asked me. Howard pointed at me. "You went behind our backs." I handed them copies of the documentation, transaction logs, video stills, timelines. Howard didn't look. "Family doesn't do this." "He stole," I said. Gwen shook her head. "He was under pressure. He wasn't thinking straight." Marvin shouted. "He planned this. He's always been jealous." I told them I'd cooperate fully, and I wasn't signing anything to make it disappear. Howard stepped closer. "You'll regret this." I didn't respond. The trial took months. Marvin leaned fully into the victim role. He claimed confusion, claimed shared ownership, claimed emotional distress. His lawyer focused heavily on family dynamics, painting me as cold and calculating. When it was my turn to testify, I kept it factual. Dates, permissions, processes, no speeches, no emotion. The prosecutor played the footage. Marvin's voice filled the courtroom, talking about taking what he was owed, laughing about how easy it was, complaining that I didn't deserve what I had. Gwen sobbed openly. Howard stared straight ahead, jaw locked. Marvin finally turned toward me. "You could have stopped this," I answered calmly. "You could have." The verdict came back quickly. Guilty. At sentencing, Marvin looked different. Not angry, not arrogant, just scared. The judge talked about repeated behavior, about opportunity, about choices made after warnings. The sentence was read. Prison time, restitution, a permanent record that couldn't be explained away. Gwen broke down. Howard stayed rigid. Marvin looked back at me one last time. This was supposed to be mine. I didn't respond. After that, I cut contact completely. Numbers blocked. Emails ignored. No intermediaries, no explanations. I didn't announce it, I just stopped engaging. The quiet afterward felt different, not tense, clean. I went back to work, meetings, deadlines, projects, moving forward. The people around me knew the rules and respected them because they applied to everyone equally. Athena and Simon stayed close. Their kid grew up around consistency instead of chaos. One evening, I stood alone in my office after everyone had gone home. The systems were running. The lights were low. Everything worked the way it was supposed to. I wasn't angry. I wasn't relieved. I was settled. Forgiveness was never the goal. Peace was. And peace came the moment I stopped giving access to people who only knew how to take. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.